What's up, people? Today we are going to be talking about Blade Runner: The Final Cut in 4K. Coming up next. So Blade Runner: The Final Cut in 4K. This was a release that came out last month. I meant to review it back then, but I had a lot going on with the YouTube site and getting it up and running to the point where now I am just getting into it, and it's a good time because I am about to talk about Blade Runner 2049, so I figured I would just hold off and talk to you guys about it when I review that film next. And also, I'm a little short on time this week because I actually have a lot of things coming up for you guys. So, what is going to happen here is I'm going to be reviewing the 4K release mostly, and I'm just going to do a quick comment on the standard Blu-ray. It came out in 2007 anyway, and yeah, this 4K release is the one that you guys really want to hear about because it's the newest one anyway. So I guess I'll start off by saying that when it comes to 4K and older releases, I always approach it with a little bit of skepticism, just because of the fact that 4K wasn't even even thought of when they were making a movie like The Fifth Element or Blade Runner. But at the same point in time, they have released those movies in Ultra HD or 4K, and really to good success. And I think it shows just what 4K can actually do for even older films like Blade Runner. This transfer looks amazing, people. Just to say, I mean, look. Any aspect that you can possibly think of, this 4K release blows it out of the water. I mean, when you want to talk about clarity or when you want to talk about detail, this release, like every frame just looks so full of detail and so clear. I mean, just with the opening, with the flames coming up from the cityscape, it looks tremendous in 4K, and you get to see every bit of those flames coming up from the city. And then when you have those hover cars going over Decker's head, you can see them so clearly and with such detail. Man, it's truly amazing what they are doing with 4K, specifically in the last couple of months. It has just been a really good time for 4K material, and this is at the top of the list. Top of the list. Now to talk about the HDR here, you know what? This fares pretty damn well, and as a matter of fact, really well. Blade Runner has always been a dark film. I mean, dark to the point where you can't even see anything. You know, I mentioned it during my actual review for the movie, and I'll say it again. Originally, when Blade Runner came out, it was so dark, I couldn't see certain scenes, and over time they have fixed that problem, and definitely with this final cut, they have tweaked things to make this movie a lot more brighter and more vibrant. This release is the best way to actually see that. It is so much brighter. Not to say that the black levels have problems, because the black levels are good here, but they just don't overpower everything else like I feel like Blade Runner has in the past. And when you want to talk about the difference in color or the wider range of color that comes with the 4K Ultra HD material, this is truly amazing, people. I mean, you know, a lot of the black levels have been traded for blue hues, like I have stated before, and I just feel like it comes across here really damn well. Really well. And, you know, there is such vibrance to this movie in 4K. And it's something that I've never noticed about this movie. And this transfer is making me see things in Blade Runner the way that I have never seen before. Guys, in the end, Blade Runner looks amazing in 4K. You guys have to check this one out. If you are even a marginal fan of Blade Runner, check this out. It's an awesome transfer. It's one of the best 4K transfers that you can possibly get. And it is something that is truly, truly great. And it actually caused me to see things in Blade Runner that I have never even noticed before. And for that, I have to give it a 10 out of 10. This is some real great stuff, dude. So just to give you guys a quick rundown of what I think of the actual Blu-ray release of Blade Runner. It came out in 2007. I'm just talking about the final cut here, and it was at a time where BC1 encodes were very popular, and it was an older encoding for Blu-rays. It compressed a lot more, and there's a lot of compression in the actual video transfer. For the time, I would have gave it a 10 out of 10, but now I do see small encoding, you know, issues with it, and for that, I have to give it a 9, but still, it's really good, it's really great, and it's something that, you know what, if you guys don't have a 4K TV or a 4K Blu-ray player, you know what, it's not bad, it's serviceable, and it's good. You know what, it's better than serviceable, I'm sorry I said that. It's a really good transfer that is subjected to the time that it came out. So next, we're going to be getting into the audio quality of Blade Runner in 4K. And people, we're going to be talking about some Dolby Atmos. And you know I love to talk about Dolby Atmos. So stay tuned and I will get into it coming up next. So the audio quality of Blade Runner in 4K Ultra HD. Wow, you know what? It's something that I was always skeptical of. Taking an older film and giving it a Dolby Atmos track where Dolby Atmos wasn't even thought of when the movie actually came out. But time and time again, older films are getting the Dolby Atmos treatment, like Ghostbusters and like The Fifth Element, like I just said about the video transfer. And I'm just proved wrong because Dolby Atmos really helps out older films as well, and it is amazing for Blade Runner. A movie that came out in 1982 sounds the best it has ever sounded here, and it is because of this Dolby Atmos track. It is something truly amazing, and you know what? Just when you look at the dynamic range of this audio track, it is something that you've never heard Blade Runner sound like this before. Having this much range and just the overall frequency that this audio has is really great. Surrounds are very active, and it's not something that comes across as fake. It is something that they actually, you know, spent some time with, just because of the fact that, you know, back in the day, of course, Blade Runner wasn't done in, you know, Dolby Surround. It was just in Dolby Stereo, but at the same point in time, I feel like they really hit the mark here, and it's something really great. And then when you want to talk about the height speakers, wow, you know what? The height speakers get a definite workout with this, even more than some, you know, like modern day Dolby Atmos films do. You know, you get the hover cars hovering over your head, and you can definitely hear that in this track. And, you know, even when Roy is like howling at Deckard, that weird howl that he does, you can hear it echo in your height speakers. It's something that's really immersive, and it's something that's really done great here. You know, guys, they didn't just slap a Dolby Atmos track on this disc just to say, hey, we gave it some Dolby Atmos. No, they didn't. They actually remixed this thing. I have to give this a 10 out of 10. Guys, Blade Runner will never sound this good. Pick it up. Now, just to go over the Dolby True HD 5.1 track that was on the Blade Runner Blu-ray that came out in 2007, you know what? It's pretty damn good too, and I would say that it's really not that bad. And as a matter of fact, if this Dolby Atmos track wasn't out, I would say that it's the way to listen to Blade Runner, and for that, I would have to give it a 10 out of 10 as well. You know, it's funny. I'll mention it now. Blade Runner on DVD before it came out in 4K, they actually put it out in Dolby 5.1 surround, and it just felt really unnatural, and they had some problems with that all throughout the 90s on DVD, and they really fixed it on Blu-ray with this 2007 release. And you know what, for that, I'll have to give it a 10 out of 10 as well. And you know what, it's really good in its own regard. And if you don't have a 4K Blu-ray player or a 4K TV, this is still, you know, some really good stuff. So next, we are going to talk about the special features for Blade Runner, and you won't want to miss it because we have a boatload to talk about there coming up next. So the special features for Blade Runner in 4K. I have a lot to explain to you guys about this one because this is actually pretty complicated. I will just say right up top that the only new special feature that is on this release is a 4K new restoration of the actual trailer for the film. That's it. That's all they give us. Yeah, I know. That is kind of lame, and I definitely take that into consideration. But at the same point in time, the amount of special features that are transferred over from the 2007 Blu-ray release is incredible, just because of the fact that they did such a good job with that release. It actually reflects on this release because they are all put on this release, but just not on the actual Ultra HD disc. They are spread out between the other Blu-ray discs that actually come in the set. So first, we have an audio commentary with Ridley Scott, the director of the film, and man, you know, this is an old commentary. This is one that I've heard before, but I don't ever get sick of it. He is amazing when he talks about this movie, and the technical aspects that he gets into is truly a testament to how much he actually knows about his craft. I love listening to Ridley Scott talk about the technical aspects that go on in his films, and technically, Blade Runner is astounding because of the fact that he knows so much about what he's talking about. This audio commentary is astounding, and it's one that I always go back to. I've listened to it many, many times, and it is truly one of my favorite audio commentary tracks, even though it's just him. You know, there's nobody with him, and maybe it would be good for Harrison Ford to be on it with him, but I know there's still some, you know, tension between him and Harrison Ford because of the way that Blade Runner turned out, and I don't ever think that those two are going to get into a room with each other anytime soon. So then we have two other audio commentary tracks, one with the producers of the film, and then one with the writers and I believe some of the set designers. This is all really good stuff, and it's definitely informative, but at the same point in time, it's nothing that Ridley Scott doesn't go over himself. So, hey, if you need to pick just one audio commentary to listen to, definitely listen to the Ridley Scott one because it's something really great. So then we have a total of 13 featurettes. I'm not going to talk about all 13. That would be a very long video for you guys and kind of boring. What I will just say is the best one to watch is Dangerous Days, and It is one of my favorite featurettes of all time. It goes over every single detail that went into Blade Runner, starting with the pre-production. And something that I found fascinating is this movie actually started out with just two guys in a room. One would be a replicant, the other guy would be the Blade Runner, and then Blade Runner would be giving the replicant the void comp test that's in the movie. Essentially, it would be what is the first scene of the movie, and that would be the entire movie. It was very basic and simple, and when Ridley Scott came on board, he just said, well, what's going on outside of this room? And that basically opened up a huge door for this movie where it got just way more expansive than what it was ever thought to be. And that's what got the ball rolling on what we know to be Blade Runner today. That is such a great story to listen to here, and this is one of my favorite featurettes of all time. The other featurettes are really good and really informative as well, but Dangerous Days is something that is truly, truly, truly one of the best featurettes. So, guys, in the end with these special features, I do understand that they didn't put a lot of time and effort into these special features when it comes to this 4K release. But at the same point in time, what more do you want than all the special features that were on those previous Blade Runner Blu-rays? Because there was so much on there. I mean, there is 7 hours worth of material here. I can't ignore that. And for that, I have to give this a 9. If it was back in 2007 and I had these same special features here, I would have to give this a 10. But because of the fact that they put a little less TLC into these special features for this 4K disc, I gotta notch it down just one notch, but hey, this is still something really great. So next I'm going to be getting into my last look at Blade Runner, coming up next. So my last look and final thoughts of Blade Runner. You know what? This movie is a provocative movie that wants to evoke emotions from you, not just by either even characters or dialogue. This is a mood that is set by visuals, and when it comes to that, a lot of movies have tried this, but none have succeeded like Blade Runner. This movie is in a class of its own. Even though people consider this movie classic, and I don't, I can still understand that this is something that is just truly marvelous and truly something that we only see once, folks. And, you know, it has one of my favorite villains with Roy. You know, Rutger Hauer is amazing in this movie, and his performance cannot be understated. It is truly something great. My problems with the movie is the fact that Deckard does leave me a bit cold. He is an ass. And, you know, he's just an unlikable guy, but at the same point in time, we're asked to, you know, follow him for a lot of the movie. And for that, during my initial review of Blade Runner, I gave it a 9, and hey, that's still a really great score. So, as far as this 4K Ultra HD disc goes, when you add up all my scores, I gave it a 38. That is my highest score for anything that I have reviewed on HDByMe. And I am proud to say that this is one of the best releases that you guys can pick up that I have reviewed. This is something that is truly something that I am proud to have in my collection. So what's coming up next on the channel? Well, I have to review the new Blade Runner with Ryan Gosling. That is going to be my next review. And then following with that, I have Spider-Man Homecoming coming to you guys. That is coming out this week. And I will be reviewing the Blu-ray and the Ultra HD Blu-ray for you guys. You want to check that out. And then after that, I will finally be getting into some horror. And for the next week and a half after this week, up until Halloween, I'll be doing strictly horror for you guys, so you won't want to miss that. I tried to pick things that weren't too obvious but were still relevant, so relevant releases. And something that I've thought long and hard about, and I can't wait to have discussions with you guys about that when we do. As always, guys, thank you for watching so early on. You guys are great, and I will see all of you next time.